wanting to help people, and and in return, they're going to want to help us back. I feel like
Yes.
you get what you give to the world.
Hi, and welcome to the Loan Officer Team Training Podcast. My name is Irene Duford, and I'm your host today. And I've got a very special guest, and his name is Hamilton Lao, and he works on Jing's Mortgage Team. He happens to be your husband. And so welcome today, Hamilton. I'm so excited that you agreed to be on the podcast because you have some amazing things to share. So welcome.
Oh, it's an absolute honor for me to be on to share the same platform with you right now, especially somebody with your caliber who works with so many high quality people. For you to invite me on again is an absolute honor. So thank you. It's an happy to share open book with your viewers.
Oh, well, thank you so much. I have the honor of coaching you and Jing, and I love that I get to coach you because I've seen you guys grow so much. And I was there with Jing when she started coaching. You were not working with her yet. And she had a very small team, hardly any team at all. And she's built it and grown it. And you're a big part of that. And I love the way you guys synergize on your team. You have completely different roles. So let's say that first, because not everybody can work with their husband or wife. I've been successful at it in the past. I know you are too, but it has its challenges, right?
Oh, absolutely. We have separate offices. She does her thing. We have very different roles. Even though I'm licensed, I don't practice. In our industry, I'm a BDR, business development rep. So I guess the best way to putting it for our viewers is, if you have a product and there's nobody that's sharing that product with the world, you don't really have a business, you just have a product, right? So kind of what I do is share what we do to the world, and namely, specifically to reach out to real estate agents, producing real estate agents, and really be able to network with different investors and get our names out there.
Yeah, that's the big thing. It doesn't do, you're like, you don't want to be the best kept secret, right? An
Right.
amazing business that's a secret. So you're able to get out there and do that. So when I first started coaching with Jing, her goal from day one was to bring her husband on. That's what she kept saying. And it's funny for me with, we all have some limiting beliefs, right? And I had just a real quick limiting belief that came to me when she said that. I thought, because I asked, well, what does he do for a living? And she said, he's a teacher. And I thought to myself, just for one split second, I thought, and he's going to be a business development rep, a teacher. He's going to go ask for business and make phone calls and, all of that stuff. And I laugh about it now because, of course, I did not say that to her because I didn't want to pass my limiting belief onto her, right?
Right.
And that's what it was. It was a limiting belief because you totally proved me that limiting belief wrong. You have done an amazing job. So tell us the story about how you guys first started talking about working together and what you were going to do. You were a teacher. Tell us about your teacher story too.
Yeah, I've been married with Jing for about 14 years, and this was like, oh boy, like within that 14 years is so many lifetimes that have passed since then, meaning our own personal growth. And since the beginning to now, by the way, me and Jing were so far from who we are now at the time, naturally, right? Everybody grows.
Yes, of course.
And even during that time, I've always had, I think, a propensity to network and just talk to people. And she's always made fun of me about that. And and I've always wondered too, I'm like, man, if there's a way that I could make a really good, honest living from it, like I would love to do that. And look at me now, right? Throw it out in the universe.
Right.
No, but I think like the first time we had this conversation was maybe your second or third time. I don't actually remember the first time, but we went to a vacation in Hawaii, and she kept rolling her eyes the entire trip because, I would talk to people and be so fascinated with their stories because a lot of people from Hawaii, that at least the people that I spoke with, they're not like native Hawaiians. They were just people that immigrated to Hawaii because it's paradise, right? And that story in itself really fascinated me because everybody literally pretty international. It's a very international state. People coming
Yes.
from, Asia, immigrating from Asia, people immigrating from North America, Canada, US. And it's like, man, their story fascinates me because, within this rat race of at least the way, I guess our culture, the way it kind of, it plants that seed in us, this rat race of working really hard and then finally, we retire and then we achieve paradise. You have people that are, 20s, 30s, 40s that already live in paradise. And it's like, wow, how did this happen? And the story seemed to be a common, trait where it's just like, why go through that rat race? And that seems to be that common pattern. Why go through that rat race when I could just go to the paradise? I mean,
Yeah.
there's pros and cons to it, but that was kind of the seed that I think really ignited further conversation with Jing. It's like, wow, Jing's like, you're pretty good at this, like just talking to people with amidst her rolling her eyes at me. Yeah, and from then I always had it maybe in me to connect with people because I am legitimately fascinated with everybody's story. I think
Yes.
a good way of explaining my philosophy on this is there's this short on YouTube. I think it's called Humans of New York, where it's such a fascinating city in New York City, right? But
Yes.
what makes it more fascinating is the people that make up the city. And the short kind of just has an interviewee, just walks around the city, 30 seconds, they'll ask him like, how did you get to New York City? And the amount of interesting stories that came from then like blew me away. And I love that series of shorts. And I kind of see people in that perspective. So shout out to, Humans of New York, because it helped set that foundation in me and how fascinating people are. Because, I think everybody's fascinating. It's not one person that encounter a hardship and overcame it. It's not proprietary. I think everybody encounters hardship and overcomes it their own way. And I love to learn about that because in turn, you never know how that story can change my own life. So every
Exactly.
time, right. So every time I talk to people and I connect with people, ideally, sometimes we can't, but like ideally, I would love to get to that point where we get to an interesting topic, like, oh, if you ever encountered an interesting situation, like how did you overcome it? Because again, it's always in the interest of, hey, maybe I could learn from it. Maybe I can
Mhm.
share that knowledge. And I find that what's interesting too, I find that high producing people that are successful, hyper successful, they also have almost like a pattern on how they would overcome and solve a problem. Again, rather than me read a book about it or watch a video about it, I want to actually go out there and ask questions. And especially if I do read up on, say, like a philosophy on overcoming a specific problem, I want
Mhm.
to ask a high producing person, like, hey, did you use this strategy? And then hear
Yes.
how they, and again, this is just, I can go on and on about this. This is just extremely fascinating to me. So I always had that in me. And I think people really gravitate towards that kind of attitude of it, like legitimate interest. Like I just love talking to people. It's not like a fake, like I'm just trying to get something from you to
That's
know
it.
you. Like, right, right. And I think people that encounter that kind of energy, I think people gravitate towards that because it's like we all toil almost in a way.
Mhm.
I think it's easy to kind of get into that machine, and it's like it can get very sad because it's like, all right, who cares about me? I'm just toiling. But then when somebody comes, it's like I legitimately want to know like your story. It's like
Mhm.
it's a very nice rapport builder to me, at least.
I agree. And
Yeah.
that's what I love about you is you've always been that way. And that's how I am too. I have always been from the time I was little, didn't even realize it until I got into business and started talking to different people and stuff. But I've always been that way. And I think that's what you and I have in common. And that's why we appreciate each other so much too, is because we both have that. We're both what I call a student of success. We are students of success. We want to hear people's story. We want to know how they got to where they were. How did they get from here to here? So just recently, and that makes you a good person to be a business development rep because you truly are wanting to know their story. It's not a gimmick. It's not a, oh, I just want to get business from you. It's true. It's sincere. So recently, this last weekend, I had planned to take Thursday and Friday off and write goals and do a business plan and really just concentrate because my husband was gone on a golf trip with his sons. And so anyway, I ended up getting sick. And so a cold. So I didn't get to do it, but I watched documentaries all weekend long because I love to hear people's stories. And documentaries to me are like the best thing ever, as long as it's, legitimate documentary, but I just love it. And that's what you're doing when you are a business development rep. You are getting to know people, getting to know their stories. And that's why you're so good at it.
The flip side of it too, it's not just one-sided where I just want to know about you. Like, I do have I don't know if the right word is passion, but I do have an inclination. I think that's the best word, an inclination in my disposition that if I hear somebody that is going through a problem and I heard a story about how somebody overcame it, I am just naturally inclined. I want that person to overcome it too. Not that I'm like the, finger wagging, you should do this, but it's like, it's really like, I would love to, that's the way I feel. I want to make the mark in the world,
Yes.
how I want to make the world a better place. I mean, we could talk about get even deeper, like why I am even like this. And I feel like, I think people that encounter a huge obstacle when they're kids, I think there is a balance like there in a person's life where it's like, an obstacle and how do you overcome it? And it's like now suddenly this huge hardship gives you a new perspective on life. Good. I mean, it's not a good or a bad thing. It just happens. I think a natural balance in the world. Like when something really bad happens, well, then something else is going to happen that's possibly good,
Yes.
But this mentality of just kind of learning about people and kind of giving back, I carried that with me, I think, pretty much my entire adult life. Like my first career, I was a child protective specialist. I used to work for the city of New York. So what I would do is investigate, child abuse. I would go to the house.
Oh boy.
There's like a process in doing it, and potentially, if I find that there is abuse going on, I will remove the child that night. And if there isn't abuse, then there's a whole nother process that we would follow. But I had no gun in New York City. I have no gun. I'm going into, not the nicest neighborhoods, oftentimes. I had no gun. I had a lot of times in the not the best neighborhoods, when you call the police, that, they might be so busy with other things. It may take, 2 hours for them to get here if they do come. So I think what really helped me hone further that skill was just relying on my tact to kind of remove the child, because a lot of times I don't have a gun. Again, I'm in a neighborhood I'm not familiar with. I see a child's being abused. How do I convince the parent to do the right thing and come with me to the police station to get further information about whether the abuse, happened or not? I mean, I'm sure you and the viewers can imagine it can go very south very quickly if there isn't a sense of tact in convincing the parent to come with me to the police precinct. And if there is abuse that has been found by me and the police officer, that parent will now be arrested. So I can, the implications, there's a lot of implications here. So like, I think that job, that career, it really helped hone my skill. It was a very difficult, bleak, depressing job. It was very difficult.
Yeah.
Very sad.
Yes.
It's like almost every day, I'm dealing with a sad family or somebody's crying to me. Could be very bleak and depressing. So I, made the pivot out of that.
Let me ask you though, before you move on, I do have a question. So sure. I'm wondering how you dealt with that. Not how you dealt with it, but I want to know that you have amazing skills to read the room. That's the thing, is not only did you know how to have tact, but you had to be able to have emotional intelligence to be able to understand people's emotions, understand your own emotions and their emotions, and be able to manage that. That's a big deal. I didn't even know that about you. I didn't know that's what you used to do. I'm finding out for the first time on our podcast. So, but I'm excited that you're sharing this story, because you had to not have just tact, but you had to be able to, like I said, emotional intelligence, skills, managing emotions, yours and theirs, and being able to read the room to make sure that you're not saying the wrong thing or doing the wrong thing at the right time or at the wrong time. And so that's amazing. I did not know that story. And I hope you know that about yourself, that you have great skills that you've honed in and to read the room.
Yeah, I can literally have an entire podcast.
Well, then let's do one.
Yeah, I mean, whatever you want, like it's almost intuitive to me at this point. But like when initially when I started, of course, I make made a lot of mistakes and hiccups. Thank God I didn't have any kid die on me, during the
Yeah.
course that I was there. But like, the social dynamic that happens is not just with one person. There's a social dynamic that happens with amongst a group of people. And even if you take one person out of that dynamic, it's just now 1-on-1 or even 1-to-2 or 1-to-3, it completely changes the dynamic. And even
Yes.
within that specific environment, it changes the dynamic. So it's like there's a lot that everybody is able to learn on their own. And I say use these words very carefully because it is really an art. It's really your own ability that you can develop based on your personality.
Yes, it
I mean,
is.
I can share, how I, perceive things, but I guarantee, somebody with the opposite personality of me would handle a situation different and change the energy and dynamic of a specific situation. But there's a lot to it. There's, the goals, like what are your goals that when you go into the dynamic, the specific dynamic, what is the energy that you bring that you're going to change within that dynamic. These things very minute things have to be considered to achieve a particular goal. So like these things are, again, I can talk about this
Yeah,
for an
I
entire
would
market.
love to do a podcast about that,
Yeah.
about emotional intelligence, about dynamics of relationships and things like that. But
Yep.
this does apply today to you being a business development rep because you were able to take those skills with you. So you went from there and you ended up going.
Into teaching.
Okay.
Yeah, just I'm sure you could imagine, I gotta say, I have this running joke where I say that it probably shaved that 5 years that I worked at ACS, probably shaved off like 10 years of my life. Because it was
I'll
like,
bet it did.
yeah, I'm sure you can imagine like just constantly being in a, sad, depressive
Oh,
environment. It's not very good for a person. So for me, I felt like I wanted a little more from my life. So,
yes.
I ended up joining the New York City Teaching Fellows program. So what they do is they take somebody that's not in the teaching industry, they prefer that. They will give them a crash course and train them how to, as I was mentioning, the social dynamic of being a teacher,
Uh-huh.
and really, really like drill that in for like 3 months.
Wow.
And from there, you have a choice of what kind of subjects you chose. And for me, I ended up choosing special ed, math, and science. So I ended up pivoting to that direction. And I still utilize those skills coming from such a negative, depressive, potentially violent environment now to a classroom setting. It was totally a lot easier because I would rather deal with a child than somebody that is violent, and
Yes.
having to, verbally figure out how I'm going to get out of a situation or convince them to, do something that they don't want to do. I
Right.
still have to do that, but with, again, adolescent or
Uh-huh.
rather a teenager rather. Yeah. So my grades that I was certified in was a 7 to 12. I worked with in the ICT setting, integrated co-teaching setting. So there's a special ed teacher, myself, along with a general education teacher, and we would instruct. And I'm
Mhm.
sure you could imagine too, in a setting like that, the range of attention can be very far, right?
I'll bet.
And that's the next part that I think I utilized, these skills because we can teach the quadratic formula. It's not exactly the funnest topic to teach, but if we read the room, we utilize, certain, I would say I'm saying like a sales technique to kind
Yes.
and attract the students. And all I need is just a few minutes of your time, and I promise you're going to understand.
Mhm.
But I need you to focus, for a few minutes.
Yeah.
And a lot of times, it's kind of like this juggle, this almost like this push pull, this dance, I would say, with the
Mhm.
students. Because at what point do you see them lose their attention? Just coming back to that, I guess, the emotional intelligence that you're talking about.
Yes.
At what point did I lose that one person? And at what point did I lose the entire classroom? And then at that point, you got to kind of pivot. How do I make this now? Maybe I have to jump
Yeah.
or increase the volume of my voice. How do I get their attention back again? So I think
Mhm.
I worked in teaching. Let me see here. Oh boy, like 6, 7 years maybe. And within that time, I think it further honed down that social dynamic skill. Yeah, and then from there, I mean, the pandemic hit, and I remember Jing was working all the time because the industry was, it was booming
It
during
was
that time. I mean,
booming. Yes.
interest rate hit the lowest that I mean, was it historically low? I don't remember,
It was
but it hit.
historically low.
Yeah,
Yep.
right.
Uh-huh.
Historically low. Jing's phone was constantly, off the hook, and she'd be up like 1 a.m., 2 a.m. in the morning. And so am I, because I'm lesson planning. I'm trying to figure out, how to get these kids to pay attention
Mhm.
through remote learning, which is another story, another podcast in itself.
Oh, for sure.
But I'm like, man, we're working just as hard as each other, yet I am making a fraction of what Jing is making. So it's like, man, and it, Jing was very encouraging about it. It was like, man, if you can utilize some of the skills, and God bless my, Jing, my wife, and you know, she always saw something in me that can be more, that
Yes.
can and I gotta say, which is like another podcast topic, like, I think it really, and I'm always learning new things about this, about marriage. It's
Hmm.
like, man, this is the type of person that you have to be with, It's like the
Yes.
person that sees more inside you and wants the best for you and encourages you to continue to succeed, even though the person may or may not want to have that, courage to continue to ignite or inspire them to become more. That's the person that you want to be with, So to our viewers that are about to get married, yes, look at the other person, that you're about to get married to. Is that person going to be with you literally through thick and thin? Through thin, I think everybody, it's easy moment, right? Through thick, it's like a difficult time. And it's like those are the people that you want around you, that are
Yes,
gonna think about the team of the husband and wife, that's gonna
for
think about
sure. And it's not
encouraging.
always easy. I mean, you have your issues, you have things that you have to go through, but at the end of the day, I can tell you, I've been married 44 years and I've known my husband forever. And I can tell you that what I love about our relationship is that no matter what, no matter whether we have down times, whatever it is, whether we get mad at each other, whether we argue, whatever it is, we come out of it with a lot of love because we know that is the compass for us, is it's love and it's support. Neil Dingra talks about, he's from Forward Academy and he does content marketing and he's one of my mentors in it. And he says that a marriage hack is having a supportive spouse. That's the marriage hack, is having a supportive spouse that's there for you no matter what. And that's what we're talking about.
Oh yeah, I think it's also an important topic, especially to our loan officer viewers out there too, because it's like
Yes.
the divorce rate is 1 out of 2, 50%,
Yes.
nowadays. I don't remember what year this was taken from, but this was definitely recent. It's 1 out of 2 marriages end in divorce. I mean, to me, it's like, I don't know why that cause of that statistic, but I would theorize that maybe it's just not a hard look on whether or not this person is going to stick with you thick and thin,
Exactly.
or maybe quick marriages, right? I mean, I know people that
Hmm.
kind of get married in 6 months, and it's like, oh boy, I mean, sure, different strokes for different folks, but then it's like, man, this is a
Do your
person that
homework.
exactly, and I'm a religious, very, very, very religious guy,
Uh,
and I do feel that getting married is a form of rite of passage. Like it changes your perspective,
it does.
changes your mentality on the world. And if we marry the wrong person, it's gonna potentially, downgrade, your perspective on the
I
world
agree.
and each other. So
Hmm.
I would say, definitely take the ideology of marriage very seriously, because a person that you're with, you guys are gonna push each other to grow, and
Yes.
that's at least in my opinion, that's the best foundation of marriage. And what's pushing each other is love,
Exactly. It's love.
real love.
I truly believe that everything can be answered with love. I do. That's one of my favorite sayings is all it takes is love. And not all it takes, but love can conquer all. That's what I believe. And who you marry, I've told my kids this from the time they were little, and thank goodness all of them have married spectacular people. Who you marry is the most important decision you're going to make in your life. And sometimes it works out, sometimes it doesn't, and sometimes it's not your fault. So I don't want people to feel bad that they might have been through a divorce or they've married the wrong person or whatever it is, but it's a new day today, right? And even in a marriage, and here we are getting into marriage, but I love this topic. Even in a marriage, it's never too late to make it great. Never too late. You can start today and you can both decide that you're going to make it great, even though you may have things that you don't agree on or whatever, and it can work out. So commitment is everything.
Absolutely, absolutely. And for me, just in my opinion, I feel like God in emotional form is love.
Yes.
And it gets a little profound and deep because it's like the way we practice love is physically actually creating God in a way. At least just again, just my opinion, not to spread any, dogma or anything to anybody, but that's just the way my life philosophy has always been. Like I want to feel and achieve God in my environment. And for me to do that is just spread love. And whether that's in my marriage or with the people around me. And that to me, it's like so fulfilling for me, at least, to choose that route over anything else, And I think we're human. I think that people tend to, our passions get the best of us. And that happens. I think just part of our human form, right? But
yes.
Yeah, but I think, if the route is love, if the choice is love, it's very customizable to all different kind of situations in life, whether it's marriage or even in your personal life.
Yeah.
But I 100% agree with you. Love is the most important foundation to everything. I mean, I think
everything.
Yeah, to marriage, to friendship, to any relations. And in my case, I'm very proud about this. Like, I feel like the best relationships that I build with people, professional relationships that I build with realtors, it's a relationship that's built on the foundation of mutually giving each other, right?
Yes.
There's a sense of love in that. And I don't mean love again, like, I'm cheating on Jing or anything like that. And I don't mean it like that, but like really, wanting to help people, and they, and in return, they're going to want to help us back. I feel like you get what you give to the world.
Are you holding off on training your loan partners, your loan assistants, your team members and support staff on how to wow your clients? Are they getting that kind of training from you? You probably plan on training them if you get a few extra hours, but when does that happen realistically? And meanwhile, your team is doing the best they can with the information that they have. But this kind of training really doesn't exist anywhere else. When you do the training, that means you're not as responsive as you want to be with your clients, and you're not hitting your closing and income goals as a loan officer. So how much is it costing you to not have a team that's properly trained how to wow clients and referral partners so that they only want to work with you because of the great experience that they're getting? We teach them how to use efficient step-by-step processes and systems that work, how to follow up so nothing falls through the cracks and loans close on time and even early, how to build wonderful relationships with clients, how to wow people so they go, man, that was an amazing experience. The members of his or her team are amazing. They're so on it. How to use scripts and dialogues for winning clients, setting expectations and communicating with clients so that you can prevent problems down the road. How to handle difficult clients, how to make clients feel appreciated and valued, and how to handle and overcome objections. It might be time to ask for some help. That's why we're here. Loan Team Training has our next live WOW training coming up. We train your team for you so you can focus on closing loans. Check it out at loanteamtraining.com for our next class and see how many 5-star reviews we have from past WOW training participants and their loan officers who sent them at loanteamtrainingreviews.com. Remember, it's an interactive virtual training with live trainers, and we train any of your support staff that is communicating with clients and referral partners. Our sessions are 9 to 11:30 Pacific time. Check us out and sign your loan partner or team member up at loanteamtraining.com. It's really true. It's really true. It comes back to you, even if that's not your motivation. It's going to come back to you naturally because that's the law of reciprocation.
I don't feel like there's enough that's spoken about that in our culture because it's not like a one-to-one return, like a one give, one return. Love comes back. Like it comes back exponential. Again, to the viewers, don't take my word for it. Like there's just scientists that, studies that are done on this. Like just even recently, like, different doctors and professors talk about this. Like even recently, Dr. Jordan Peterson, he was on I heard a short about him. I'm a very big Dr. Jordan Peterson fan. And he was saying like when he goes and because he's a psychologist, I
Uh-huh.
believe. And when he goes and he has these academic retreats and he talks to other professors to have these kind of think tanks with them, he
Hmm.
finds that professors that are very closed, that don't want to share ideas, that's very immediate to say, "This is my idea. Don't take my idea. This is my idea."
Yes.
That they're closed and they're kind of limited to that one idea. Versus a professor that like himself, where he's just giving and he wants to give and kind of build and evolve an idea. Suddenly, everybody wants to give different ideas. And in his particular profession, where ideas is so proprietary, but then ideas is really the foundation of academic progression, it's so valuable. And I feel like it's not limited to just academia.
For sure.
It's everywhere. And I think that things that things a lot can be said about love, that it's so deep and profound and it means something different to everybody. But I think that's the power of it, because it just has so many different perspectives and utilizations and applications that can really benefit and grow everybody's life.
I
Fulfilling.
agree. Yeah, it's amazing. Love is everything. Love is what the world is made. That's why the world is made, is to have love.
Yep.
That's it. So I appreciate you bringing that up, because that is really profound, and
Mhm.
it's something to really think about. I hope people will listen to this part of the podcast and really think about what they can do in their marriage, in their relationships, in their business as well, because pure love is pure, right? And you can love people. I love people. Wherever I go, I find people. I go to travel, and I go to the airport and I see people. And it seems like every time I come home, I feel better about the world instead of worse about the world, because there are so many people, helpful people out there. Yeah, of course, if you want to focus on walking down the aisle on the airplane and seeing people with frowns on, I don't focus on that. I focus on the people that are smiling at me, that are helping me put my suitcase up. There's still people that do that. And it makes me feel good about the world as I see that. So I'm grateful that we got off on this subject. We got on a different little bit subject, but it's a good subject. I think everybody needs it.
Yeah, but I also think that this is very important to talk about, to really get to what I actually do.
Yes. So let's
Because
talk
this
about what you do. It's
because because
important.
because what I actually do is, it seems proprietary. And in many ways it really is proprietary, because there is only one Hamilton Lao. There's
Yes.
no, and it is a niche. It is a niche profession, but I think the foundation of what I do has to be has to have that. It carries love, carries the giving aspect.
Yes.
Like, it can't be, and I have to say, and I'm gonna say it like it is. I am a salesperson. I mean, that's it. I'm not trying to target, everybody,
Uh-huh.
because specifically, Jing's Mortgage Team is a mortgage brokerage. So, not everybody needs a mortgage. And specifically for what I actually do, I build relationships with producing realtors, right?
Hmm.
And not every producing realtor needs a mortgage broker because they already have one, right? So,
Uh-huh.
like, what I actually do is I reach out to those agents that need the help, and that's the perspective that I come into what I do, not to manipulate or lie. Or I have to sleep with myself at night. I know a lot of salespeople give salespeople bad names, where it's like they either
Hmm.
manipulate or lie just to, close a deal or to convince somebody something that's not real.
Hmm.
Like, that's, you know, I don't feel those people should be salespeople.
Right.
Should look for
I
another
agree.
profession. I think salespeople, you know, the heart of sales is really to see if there's somebody that is in need of something. And if
Yes.
they are, and I'm able to help them, then by all means, like,
Yes.
why should I be ashamed to help them? Because I
Exactly.
have the ability to. And I gotta say, Jing really makes my job easy, because she's legit. Jing is the legit mortgage broker. She's mastered, your traditional QM and non-QM loans. And I think what makes us proprietary is we are the one-stop shop and we can do everything.
Yes.
I'm very proud to say that. And,
Mhm.
we have a team in place to make sure that everybody is serviced properly. Follow-ups are made. It's a memorable experience so that we get those past client referrals for
Yes.
both, not just us, but for the realtor partner that we work with. specifically what I do, I think with that foundation of, hey, I'm calling you not to annoy you. And like on the phone, I would have that energy. I'm calling you because I want to see if you are in need of assistance. And if you don't need us, no big deal. You just made a friend.
Right.
If you need us, it's a phone call that could potentially change your life, change your career, change, your income. And really with that perspective, it changes the way I talk to people, the connections that I make, and I think it's a great foundation to build those realtor relationships. And I gotta say too, it is deep and profound because there are people that it's a very difficult skill, I want to say, because it really does force you to look at yourself and see if you have enough love for yourself to have enough of it to say, hey, I'm ready because I love myself so much. I'm able to give the love. I think one-sided love, which I'm sure a lot of cold callers, specifically in the mortgage area, encounter. One-sided love can bankrupt your bank account very, very quick, right?
Yes.
Because there's agents that they just want you, the mortgage broker, to give. Hey, you're so good at cold calling. Why don't you cold call some listings for me, right? Yeah, you can do this marketing for me. Why don't you pay for this marketing for me? Why don't you pay for this Zillow? Yada, 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 yada. And so on and so forth. And for me, it's like, and I don't want to knock on anybody. It perceives to me like a almost desperation of, hey, I want your love so bad that I'm just going to give you this for free. But to me, it's like that's not a great foundation on any relationship, whether it's marriage, friendship, or even in our case in the mortgage industry. I think it has to be rooted within the foundation of, hey, I'm willing to give you all the love that you need, support you and help you. But hey, it has to be mutual. Love has to be mutual. And that perspective, it helps me make decisions when I make phone calls, because a lot of times these, when I cold call, because predominantly what I do is I cold call producing agents. When I cold call, what's gonna make or break my ability to schedule an appointment is really those split-second decisions. And the agent feels it, the agent knows it, and those split-second responses, that's gonna help them determine whether they want to meet with me or not. And when it's rooted within this ideology of, hey, I'm coming from a place of love. However, I'm not looking for one-sided love here. We're helping each other.
Even though you're not saying it that way, but that's the energy that you're giving off.
Exactly. Exactly.
It's not the script.
It's not the script. No. Not the script at all. But that's the energy that I'm coming off. And your listeners and your viewers can take it as they will and create their own script from it. But that's the energy that you give. And when you give that kind of energy, so much can be discussed about this. But when you give that kind of energy, it really sets that great foundation moving forward. Not everybody wants love.
Right.
They're already loved by everybody.
Exactly.
They have like five mortgage people that they're working with, 10 mortgage people, whatever. We're not looking in my end. I'm not looking, it's going to sound funny. I'm not looking for a monogamous, a polygamous relationship. I am looking for a monogamous relationship.
That's a good way to put it.
Because we are legitimately, at least Jing's Mortgage Team, we are legitimately at a place where we're giving a lot of value to agents. Exactly. And hey, why does value have to come from one direction? And I think that again, this seems like a symbolic almost. This is just, I swear to God, I didn't come up with this like prior. This is really coming to me now. It's almost symbolic of kind of life, right? Like if you're not developing yourself and you're not loving yourself, how can you give love to people and expect love in return? You're just going to give one-sided. And it's a very, to me, it's deep and profound. And even very recently, I've been really grappling with this ideology of, self-love and, that mutual giving of love. And love, there's so many ways that you can develop your own self-love. It seems like your own self-improvement. You're looking to, in our case, Jing always learning about non-QM, as a team, we're always developing ourselves because we deserve it. We deserve to be better. And they're not to knock on people that are comfortable, and that's okay. Like I don't like to knock on people at all ever, but like, but us as human beings, again, I'm religious. I feel God gave us a ability to improve ourselves, free thought, to choose the be better so that we can achieve more and get
Yes.
more through the
Yep.
grace of God. And for us, again, kind of symbolic to the more, what we do in mortgages, like we want to develop and continue to improve ourselves so that we have a lot of value that we can give, but we also know our value enough to not let people take advantage of us. Again, another almost symbolic of who we are as human beings, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm
You know
so
what
sorry. I kind of go on a tangent.
No, it's okay. What I love about what you're saying, I got to thinking, you guys you create a wow experience. Your team has been through our wow training that we
Yes.
offer with our company. It has been mapped out really well of who does what on your team, and it works like clockwork because Jing has created the processes. The whole team has worked together to create the process. So people have an amazing experience. So you have a great product, so to speak. You already have that. And Alex Hermosi says that the first thing you should work on is your product, not the marketing of your product, the product. And that's what you guys have done. You've worked on the product. You have an amazing product, so to speak. It's not a product, but it's an experience.
Yes.
And you guys have done that. So you're very confident when you go out that they are going to get what you tell them they're going to get. They're going to get a great experience. Your word means something, and they're going to get an amazing wow experience when they go to your team because you've created that. The whole team has created it, but Jing has been the spearheader of that because she's a process person, which is awesome. And I think that when you go out, you definitely need to have confidence in your team, and you have it. But what I love about you is that you make the cold calls. The thing that impressed me the most when you first started doing it is, like I said, I still had my little bit of a limiting belief about whether, you'd be able to make those kind of cold calls, but I didn't know you yet. I didn't know your personality. I didn't know all these things about you yet. And you proved to me very quickly that you were on it. You were making sure that you made the phone calls. You were making sure that you were consistent. No matter what, you were going to make those calls every single day. And you were going to figure it out about feeling rejected, feeling call reluctance, all of those things. You worked through all of that stuff on purpose. Tell us how you did that, how you worked through that call reluctance part.
That comes back to just who I am as a person, where I just want to do. I don't like to overthink things, and sometimes I do. I think we're just human. Everybody overthinks things by accident,
right?
Unwillingly, they just do it, right?
Uh-huh.
For me, I think overthought has, as at least when I was growing up as a kid, overthought has really messed me up. First, so to say, for lack of a better word, I don't like it really prevented my growth when I was a kid. So I kind of have a sense of now, just do it. And I think me and Jing really balance each other out because she's more judicious about thinking about things through, versus me. I can get very, let's just go do it.
Yeah, let's do it.
Let's just go do it and then see what happens, and then if it works, doesn't. And as I get older, I try to be more careful about that because it's not necessarily the best thing. But for me, when I first transitioned over, I had that really as in my heart, like just do it. I think within that process, I'll learn. I had a list of producing agents to call. And again, thank you for your training. Thank you, Carl White. Shout out to Carl White for Mortgage Marketing Animals and the Freedom Club, who really encouraged us and gave us a blueprint on things to do. Because in one of Carl's training videos, it's like, call these agents, and if they remember you in 6 months, that's not an agent that you want to work with anyways. So that kind of helped me out a lot because it's like, all right, whatever mistakes that I'm going to make, the odds are they're not going to remember me.
Right.
And if they remember me, then maybe I shouldn't work with them anyways, because it's like, I guess you're not busy enough to I guess you're too slow in your business with enough time for you to remember a cold call from a mortgage person. You know what I mean? So that was kind of that mentality. Just do it. The worst thing that's going to happen to me is I get told off, right? And surprisingly, I actually didn't get told off a lot. I had a lot of rude people, a lot of hangups. I think the term call reluctance, I have a little bit of strong feelings and opinions about the word call reluctance. It's almost like to me, it's such a negative term. It's like, I'm reluctant to do things. It's almost like it debilitates you before you even start, because how can you even begin to accept success or good things to happen if you're reluctant to accept the potential negativities that you get. And in our industry, volume is everything. You call, conversion rate is 5%, as far as cold calling and getting an appointment, right? At best, and if you're really good, maybe 10%, so that's one call every 10 that's going to give you an appointment, so to have a debilitating thought that will prevent you from hitting the volume is no good to me. So the idea of call reluctance, I don't like that word. What I like to think about is call acceptance.
Yes, that's good self-talk.
Exactly, the mindset, because it's like I'm accepting that if I'm gonna get a whale, if I'm gonna get a great agent that's gonna work with us, that's gonna love us back, I have to accept that I am gonna get hangups. And I have to accept that there are going to be people that don't want our love and actually are so filled with no love that they want to, spread the negativity to us. So I have to kind of accept that for myself. Yes. And when I accepted it, it just, it's a lot. It's just boom, boom, boom. It's just a lot easier. I just go down the list at this point. It took a while for me to really accept this idea. And even now, sometimes too, it's like when our team lands a big success, it's almost like, a little birdie in the back of my head is almost like doubting it, or, hey, I don't know, maybe it says something about, my childhood. I don't know. But like, these are things that I think we all work on to continuously grow. And I try to have this mentality, coming into this new field from teaching to cold calling. I mean, I gotta say, like, it can get boring, and I try to look at it as like an art. Every 6 months, I tend to change it up, just change up the way I deliver things, change up the way I say things. I kind of see it as like a science as well. What's interesting about cold calling real estate people is very different from cold calling your direct consumer, your person. And I don't know how people like realtors actually do it. That's very, very, very tough, to me. But to me, it's like realtors, you kind of know, you have an idea of the caricature of a realtor that will be acceptant and receptive of the way you call. And I would say, a realtor that we would love to work with, Jing's Mortgage Team would love to work with, are realtors that are producing agents, obviously, but also have a positive mindset, are good people that would love and responsive to positive energy, which is all the things that our team brings, which is all the things that I bring when I cold call. It's like, good morning, Irene. How's it going? This is Hamilton from Jing's Mortgage Team. How you doing today? Right. And I like to end that with the statement, with the question like that, because it gives them an opportunity. It gives me an opportunity to gauge, I guess, similar to what you were mentioning. I'm kind of working the room in a way, even though it's on the call. I'm kind of assessing and making those minute decisions in my brain, right? Is the person having a bad day? I give them an opportunity to say, I'm busy right now. I want them to have this engagement and interaction with me, because I want to give them an opportunity to hang up the phone on me, because we don't need to work with everybody.
That's right.
Work with everybody that's going to match that energy of that initial, how's it going, Irene? That initial energy. I would say, as I got more and more into cold calling, I just started, adding little things like that and changing things up, because I think it is an art form. I mean, there's only one Hamilton Lao. I'm not afraid to share, the strategy and philosophy that I use, because it's very, very, very difficult to copy me.
Right.
And within the process of copying me, it's like, man, it's probably harder to copy me than just be yourself. Way harder.
And that's the key. Be yourself.
Yes.
Use your own personality and your own. Maybe some people like to joke around, or maybe they're more lighthearted, or, there's a lot of different ways that people can be, and that's it. Be authentic to who you are.
Yes. And there's nothing that I do that's fake.
Right.
It's you like me or you don't like me. And if you don't like me, I wish you the absolute best.
Yes.
And if you like me, perfect. Let's continue talking. So things that like this help me, process and work through, getting, I would say, progressing as a cold caller, and helping me sleep at night too.
Yes. And you're not just a cold caller, though. You're a business development rep. So cold calling is a big part of it. And keeping in touch with the agents that you do have a relationship with, that's important too. I know cold calling, you have a tendency to focus on that sometimes, because that is going to get, it's fun for you. You know, it's kind of a game, right? And you want to succeed at it, but you also keep in touch with the agents that you have gone and met with. Jing has met with some of them. Sometimes you go together, sometimes you go separately. You have taught classes. Tell us about the most recent class experience that you guys had.
Oh man, I gotta say, this niche profession of business development rep, I it's niche because it's not easy to quantify how much a business development rep is worth, because it's your relationship building. How do you pay somebody to build relationship? How do you hire somebody that builds relationships? When do you actually see the return? And these are great questions to ask, like just but I really feel that every single business will greatly benefit from a business development rep that is social and likes to network. Ultimately for me, I think that it's important to double down on things that you're good at, right? Of course. I mean, I know business development reps that, they focus on other things besides cold calling. But for me, philosophically, it's just my opinion that I feel like cold calling has to be the most important foundation for any BDR in the mortgage industry, because cold calling is how we get the quickest return on our day-to-day time. Because it's like, you can plan, for example, you can plan to get into the UFT, United Teachers Federation in New York City. You can plan for that. And this can take potentially months and months and months before you get in front of a group of teachers and you can get a return from that, right? How do you quantify that, right? That's essentially, and same thing, I was podcasting before too. It's like, yes, I build great relationships with agents, at what point is there a return? How do you perceive that? How do you identify that, So for me, like, the foundation has to be cold calling. I'm guilty. I do fall into that rut sometimes where it's like, I'm just going to cold call now because that's how I feel successful. However, I think that there is so much tremendous more value than just cold calling, in agreement with you, because those relationships that we build from the cold calling post meeting, whether I'm showing up at the office, whether I'm calling them, whether I'm texting them, whether I'm giving them, whatever goodie that I'm sending them, whatever it is, those relationships will grow, not linear. It's not a linear growth. It's an exponential growth, because relationships it's not a one-to-one, as we were talking about before, it's not a one-to-one return. It's
right.
Okay, I did one thing for somebody that was legit and they appreciated it so much, they shared my information with 10 other people.
Yes.
And that's exponential right there. Yes. And that's kind of how, segue into your question, that's how we ended up with this recent adventure. I would call it an adventure with these classes, right? Because I want to share with your viewers, not just with mortgages, but I feel just business in general. Any business, especially the successful business, study them, because the riches is in the niches.
Yes.
If a business can find a niche, a need to be fulfilled, and this is important. I'm not saying everybody can utilize this niche. It's really just identifying what is the niche that you can help with, right? It's the growth of that business will definitely skyrocket. And through the cold calling, through meeting with one of our great agents who so happened to be linked with, I believe it's I'm going to butcher. I really should know this. I'm going to butcher the name. CPIS, I believe it's like a global committee of agents that are global minded with real estate. So I just happenstance cold calling, I encountered this great, awesome, such a beautiful person inside and out. She's involved and she was looking and needing somebody that specializes in the non-QM space, non-traditional type of loans, specifically with foreign nationals, and a bunch of other things too, but specifically with foreign nationals. And this is what Jing has been good at. And we can talk about not needing to get ready because we're always ready. Right. And we're always ready when we're constantly preparing. And this can be said for us individually. This can be said for a business too. And I would say that's what we do as a business. We're always learning and always getting ready. Right. Yes. And when the opportunity came, there wasn't a scramble to learn about foreign national loans. We've already, and I gotta say Jing. When I say we, but really it's really Jing. Jing already put in the time to really learn about the complexities and the intricacies of foreign national loans. And
Yes.
she was in the right place at the right time. And now it's like, hey, why don't you come and hold the presentation? And Jing, because she's great at networking as well. She's,
Uh-huh.
really memorable person, I want to say. So,
She is.
she knew somebody that has an office in Times Square who was generous enough to say, "Hey, we hold this conference, this presentation. Come hold it in our office." And that's what we did. We ended up holding that class in that office. Met with a lot of great, amazing people that are realtors that travel all across the country and even the world. And again, from there, the seeds are planting. And I love that term because that's really, I would say, what I guess the heart of what I do. I plant seeds, and
Yes.
you plant any seeds, it's going to grow. Some are going to grow, some of them not, and
Right.
that's okay. You just have to plant a bunch of seeds. And for this, is through that seed that was planted, we met all these other agents who loved the presentation so much, invited us to give this presentation in other locations. Now we have one scheduled in Jersey, we have one scheduled in Boston, we have one scheduled. Oh, I don't know. I don't remember the third one, but those are off the top of my head. Those two, one in Jersey and one in Boston, and I know within those classes, we're gonna meet more people. We're going to make more friends. We're going to find more people that like what we do and need our helps and services.
Yes.
And from there, it's just going to keep going. And
That's
I think
so
that's
awesome.
It's going to lead to more and more and more success. So fingers crossed. I am religious. My faith is in God, but at the same time, I trust that God's going to smile on us because he gave us this opportunity to improve ourselves. And if we improve ourselves and we keep utilizing those gifts of God, I don't see why there isn't going to be that continuous exponential return.
There will be. And I just love what you guys have done. And I love the fact that Jing is very good at tracking. And every month when she sends me her numbers, she always tells me how much of it was because of what Hamilton did. And I think that's just amazing that she does that, because not everybody would do that. And she's the only one that's ever done that I've ever coached in all of these years. She's the only one that said, and this is because of Hamilton, which would be business development rep.
Right.
And so you get to see the results. You know why she does that? She does it because obviously she knows that I need to know, and you guys need to know, but she also knows that it makes you feel good to know that you contributed to the month, because you're all about the results. You love the people, you love the relationships, but you want to make sure that you're bringing results into the business.
That's important.
And that's really important. Yeah. So I love that you guys have that. And thank you so much for being on today. I'm so glad that you were here. And I know we kind of went all over, but I'm glad we went all over because we talked about a lot of different things. And those things affect people on a daily basis. So it's all important. And I want to have you on again, and we'll go deeper with some other subjects. You've been amazing to have on. I've been amazed to see what you and Jing have accomplished together and in your team, and the way she has created everything with processes, and the way you have brought more business in the door, and you're there for each other. And I just really appreciate that. I love being your coach. It's an honor for me to be your coach. And I love to see where she was and how far you've come. It's amazing. So I'm super proud of you guys. Thank you for taking time to be here today. I hope that you've gotten value from it too. And I hope the listeners have gotten value. I don't hope, I know they have, because I know that a lot of things that you shared with us are things that people don't always think about, but they need to be thinking about them.
Oh, 100%.
Important stuff.
It's very easy to look at things robotically and just see, hey, this is the process, and go do it. But then there's a human component to it. And I think that was maybe the thing the direction that this podcast ended up going, because really the heart of everything that we do, there's a human component to it. And, I think it's easier to just shut our brain off and just go with the flow and go with the process, but I think this is very, very important, especially, for any aspiring BDRs out there, especially for any loan officers that are, maybe have that call reluctance in cold calling, and I think, it's great if they can, think about, a little bit, what does cold calling really mean? when you reach out to an individual, like an actual human being, what does that equate to as far as their growth in business? I mean, I don't know. I hope, some of these things are what your listeners will potentially think about. But I want to say too that it has been an honor for you to work with us. I'm so grateful for your tutelage. I'm so grateful. If I have any loan officer friends out there that are listening to this, the WOW training is legit.
Oh, thank you.
It's gonna change the way you see your business. It has helped our business tremendously grow, gave us it's one of those things like when you have your own business, you're kind of just looking around, like you're not too sure what to do. And it's kind of like, okay, well, this kind of feels right. And I'm just gonna go do it. Like you guys, you, Freedom Club, really gave us direction on what we need to do to grow. So I am eternally grateful. So thank you so much for having me on. For somebody at your caliber who work with, infinite amounts of high quality people, for you to see something that's in me that I'm doing, and I'm blown away. It's an absolute honor. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. I really appreciate you, Hamilton, and thanks for taking your time today. I hope everybody got value from it today. And if you did, we'd really appreciate if you'd follow us on Loan Officer Team Training and leave a review if you got value from it. So Hamilton, is there a way for people to reach out to you if they have questions?
Yeah, actually, you can call me 347-248-3429. If you, your friends, or your family are looking to buy a house, sell a house, refinance a house, please keep us in mind.
I love it. I love it.
Sorry, and Facebook as well. Hamilton Lao on Facebook. Jing's Mortgage Team. We're on Facebook as well. We're also on Instagram. Yes, Jing's Mortgage Team. And I used to have a podcast. I still have it. I'm paused on it at the moment. I'll probably pick it up again sometime in the future. It's called Secret Sauce with Hamilton Lao. So we talk about topics similar to this. So.
Yes. Yeah. Well, I hope everybody has an awesome day, and we will see you on the next one.